It's like I said before. I'm inclined to believe that roughly half of this world, if not one third, half of this world's population are clones, and they could fit in any one of the categories of regular clones, organic robotoids, and synthetic humanoids. And right now, as I'm recording this message, I'm looking at a board with some messages that I collected up there. They're actually, I'm gonna be honest, these creatures, everywhere I go, I spot these creatures, and they don't, I'm gonna be honest, they don't always look like fake people. They look like real people and they have souls, but they're not the original person. The original person is now dead, and most of the people that's been cloned are now in hell. I remember something Yahweh Rule said. He said cloning only happens to people that die and go to hell, but I slightly disagree with that. Cloning does happen with saved people, as I told you before about the celebrities that I feel, had made it through the gate, as they, didn't have a choice in whether or not to become famous, and God delivered them out of it. But it does happen to save people, but it's only occasionally. It's not something that happens very often. It's very rare. Yet another reason that the cloning occurs is so that Satan can take people to hell without anybody noticing. And when that person is cloned, another version of them is put back out there in society. It'll be as if nothing happened. But, the soul, the real person, most of the people that get cloned, it goes to hell. So, to tell you the truth, there's a lot more people in hell than we currently know about. So that would basically mean that funerals, as Yahweh Rules pointed out, is yet another Illuminati lie. And that leads to the point that I was gonna make, is that unfortunately I also have a lot of clones in my family. It's not really, as with what Yahweh Rules said, I feel the same way, because I'm one of the few real people left in my family. A lot of them is clones, and it's just a spiritual thing. It's just something that God has revealed, made known to me. And this is why I no longer watch TV. And I hardly ever read magazines except for observation purposes, because now I know when I flip through magazines, of course I pay none of the stories, don't mind, because they're just basically meant to distract the sheeple and stuff. The sheeple masses. And all I noticed that when I flip through the magazines these days, supermarket tabloids and all, it's not that I have much interest in, what's going on in there, but I just look through it to see how many fake people I can find. And did you know that, like, 90-something, I'm just put it like this, 9 times out of 10, I see fake people in the magazine. I see the synthetic skin, the plastic glass eyes, there are soulless stares, and they just look overall bad. And occasionally they'll put, and this includes soap opera magazines, occasionally they'll put a picture of the real person, the original person, or the first batch of clones in there, and I see a major difference. And I'm gonna read some of these comments that I've wrote, that I've typed in. Someone had a question about why do they clone people, what's the purpose? And I'm gonna read it out loud. It goes like this. The answer is simple. The devil, Satan, wants a planet full of his own set of counterfeit humans for the new world order that can be completely used, abused, controlled, and manipulated by him and his demons, while all slowly but surely depopulating the earth of actual human beings that are created in God's image. I used to think that cloning only happened to celebrities, as well as their extended friends, family, and acquaintances, those in their immediate circles, but now I know that this happens to people of all walks of life, from the homeless up to the billionaires, both the most famous to the very unknown. So, what I'm saying is, I believe that the depopulation, there's more to the depopulation agenda. I now know what it really truly means. So now that I know about what this whole depopulation agenda truly means, I now know that it's not so much depopulating the earth of humans in general, because most of them aren't, because most of them, about roughly half of them aren't human anyhow, but, it's about, getting the population of actual people down to 500 million. It's not the actual Earth's population, because there's 7 or 8 billion people on this planet right now, but it's getting the population of the real people, real actual original human beings that are created in God's image down to 500 million, okay? Here's some more comments that I've posted. It says, it was through Yahweh Rules channel that I found out that our government officials, as well as everyone else from all walks of life, have been secretly and covertly killed or murdered, cloned, and replaced. And most of them are now burning in hell's fire, awaiting the final judgment and then the lake of fire. One way to avoid this is to refrain from getting involved in Freemasonry, cult religions, and organized pagan Masonic denominational church systems, which are dead, condemned by God, and sealed away, and the mark of the beast is upon them. Yeah, because this is in agreement with, and somebody might ask, I mean, how can you avoid, getting murdered and cloned? For starters, this can be avoided by abstaining from Freemasonry, pagan religions, or organized denominational Masonic churches like the Baptist, the Methodist, the Presbyterian, the Episcopalian, the Anglican, all those denominations. Some of them were denominations to begin with, like the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church this really is my subject today. The Catholic Church is the mother church, and after that, some of the churches were denominations to start with, but the rest of the churches, they were, God had used them at one time, but when God was going to go on and use something else, because there was a change in dispensation, those churches didn't want it, so God pretty much Ichabod, proverbially or, metaphorically, written Ichabod over the doors of the church, which means the Spirit of the Lord had departed, because, they didn't want no more truth to be shined down on them that God was revealing. So, those churches became dead, and they're not going to be raised up again. And anybody that joins them churches and feeds off of the doctrines, they're pretty much feeding off of, vulture food, because it's dead. My late pastor used to always say that if you join any of these churches that, I've named, one of these churches out here, they're not speaking any truth. They don't always have to be organized, but they're not speaking any truth, then it doesn't mean anything. Don't join that church. But if you do join these churches, it's death. And he said that the death angel is at work. And he preached this about 22 years ago. And I didn't know what he meant then. I believe he knew about the whole cloning deal, but he didn't really talk about it. He just talked about it in passing. And somebody said, are you mad at him for doing that? Not at all, because at that time it was a time for the truth about the whole cloning thing to come out. Throughout the church ages, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and now this day, it's like the 7 church ages a little bit, as they progressed, a little bit more light was, the gospel, the truth of the gospel was revealed. So as a result, what used to work won't work no more. It's just like going to school, which with each grade level, it gets harder and stuff. And what, worked last year won't work this year. It's just like a wasp nest. Wasp nests don't use the same nest they used the year before there and make a new one. So the bottom line is, if a few of the ways that you can avoid, I just named a few of the ways to avoid getting cloned is, don't join any of these, churches out here, because if they're not, unless they preach about having a new birth or the last days message, the book of Revelation prophecies, or if it's a deliverance message that casts out demons, then you don't need to join that church. Stay as far away from it as you can, and join something where the truth is being revealed and stuff. Also, avoid churches that never preach against sin or what the devil's up to or whatever. That's one way to avoid getting cloned. Back to the death angel part about my late pastor mentioning the death angel. If it is true, what I found out, that more people are dead and in hell and cloned than I originally thought, then I guess the death angel, or the grim reaper as I like to call it, is a lot more active than I once thought it was, or he was. Somebody asked a question. Whoever you are, I apologize to you for taking so long to get back to you. Part of the reason was I was under the weather, and I see y'all. I read y'all's comments, but I have so many to answer that I don't always have time to answer all of them. But I also have created a list here of why some notes here of why there's cloning. Here are the purposes, and I'm going to read it out loud. And it says, here are the purposes of cloning. Number 1, artificial life forms can be created to certain specifications or custom made to deceive the sheeple masses or to fool people, whereas the powers that be or the Illuminati or custom made to fool and deceive the sheeple masses, whereas the powers that be or the Illuminati had little to no control over how the original God-designed person was made and their natural behaviors, inclinations, beliefs, morals, values, principles, etc. were. Number 2, human simulacra are much easier to use, abuse, control, program, and manipulate in every way than naturally born human beings, since most of them are soulless vessels anyhow. Number 3, the devil, Satan, Lucifer absolutely hates God's creations with a burning purple passion, and thus wants to have his own counterfeit drone clone race that are more pliable, docile, and obedient to the New World Order. Usually when they kill a celebrity or public figure, an imposter replaces them with clone replicas of themselves. They do the whole family that way as well, in addition to close friends, family, acquaintances, staff, etc. If they don't, which is quite rare, then the remaining individuals are kept under heavy mind control and programmed to better keep things under wraps about the demise of the actual persons. And this individual also had another question about where the clones are before, they're put out there. And the answer is, and she had actually guessed that it was deep underground somewhere in a lab or something, and she was on. So I decided to confirm the answer to her question by saying the clones are usually kept somewhere down in the dumbs or deep underground military bases. And yes, this is indeed beyond the pale, and so much so that it took me 3 long years to come to terms with it, which is true, but they do it all the time. The military intelligence, the CIA, and the Illuminati are even bold enough to drop hints throughout pop culture about what they're up to behind the black veil, which includes the mainstream mass media, television, magazines, radio, movies, etc., etc., the news. And here's another account about why there's cloning. It's because this world, especially the arenas of law, entertainment, politics, the arts, sports, etc., etc., are the devil's playground, not to mention that he despises God's creations, which are human beings created in his image. So he wants to fill these areas with his very own race of so-called humans that are soulless, synthetic, and fake for the New World Order. Satan, the fallen angels, and the demons want beings, so-called human beings, at their disposal that they can use, abuse, control, and manipulate totally, utterly, and completely. And this is impossible to accomplish with real, actual human beings, and for a few reasons. Number 1, God's versions of humans have souls. Number 2, God will not permit it. Number 3, true human beings having souls and all have been to a certain extent given free moral agency by God. But this is not the case with artificial life forms which can't think on their own and are totally at the mercy of the fallen ones. And yes, this means that entire families are cloned. As Yahweh Rules stated, there are not many real people left in his family. And I also like to mention that, he has a video, giving his personal account of cloning. And I must admit that it's very eye-opening, insightful, and thought-provoking. I've seen it multiple times because, it's been a blessing to me, and it's just so true. And, as time progresses, I'm beginning to think the same thing, come to the same conclusions about my own family. And continue with the comment my reply that I stated to this lady that had a question about this. It goes like this. You're right about where the clones are stored. They are kept in the domes or deep underground military bases until it is time for them to be utilized. Since 1/3 to half of the world's total population is cloned, as this happens to folks from all walks of life, from the homeless person to the billionaire, I can only guess that when this happens, most of the time it's a case of, I don't really know how this whole cloning thing occurs, but I believe, And since Yahweh rules, stating that, he's a prophet of Yahweh, and I believe him. I mean, he hasn't shared that with us yet, but here's my take on it. And I'm